Hello, and welcome to Grade.com Talks With. Today, we're talking with Brendan Briary, Chief Program Officer and Executive Camp Director at Children's Association for Maximum Potential, an organization that provides recreational programming for children and adults with developmental, intellectual, medical, behavioral, and physical disabilities. And if you're new to our podcast, please press subscribe button either on YouTube or your podcast app, because today we're going to learn about an organization that is helping children with special needs reach their maximum potential. Hello, Brendan. Welcome to Grade.com Talks With. We're excited to have you here.
Hello, I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. Could you please describe your organization to someone who is not familiar with your work?
Absolutely. Starting with our mission is to strengthen and inspire individuals with special needs and those who care for them through recreation, respite, and education. And what that means is we're looking at a pretty comprehensive picture of what life is like for people with a variety of special needs, both children and adults, as you've already heard today. And we really want to give those kids and adults opportunities to do things they don't get to do really anywhere else or very few other places. We also want to give their parents and other caregivers a break from those responsibilities while their children and family members are experiencing camp with us. And we also want to give our volunteer counselors, our healthcare volunteers, and our campers themselves some education that will help them outside the gates of camp. There's a lot that we do here at camp, but there's a lot of ripple effect that goes back out into the community at large that we're really proud of as well.
Mm-hmm. It's great that you provide a platform for children with special needs to experience things that they can't experience elsewhere. And you mentioned you also provide a break for their caregivers or parents to take some time off and while their children are under the care of your organization. You mentioned that there are specific things that children can't experience outside while they experience it in your camp. Could you please elaborate on that? What are those experiences?
Absolutely. One of the things that our campers get to do while they're at camp is ride a horse. And that may seem, like a pretty common opportunity that lots of kids get to enjoy in different settings. But when you think about a camper who has some physical disabilities, some challenges with mobility, they may have difficulty sitting on a horse without support, without adaptive knowledge or equipment to help make that happen. There just aren't a lot of places that some of our campers can experience that opportunity. But here at camp, we make that happen. The same happens with canoeing. Our campers get to go canoeing on the beautiful Guadalupe River that runs right through our property. They get to swim. They get to experience nature. We have a number of critters in our nature center that they get to hold and touch and learn about. We have arts and crafts like most camps have, but we adapt them. If a camper for some reason doesn't have use of his or her hands, then we find a way that they can paint with their toes or using their mouth to hold a paintbrush. The same kind of thing happens at our archery range. It's amazing to see campers who may not have use of their arms, but with supportive equipment and counselors are able to shoot bows and arrows and hit the bullseye with their feet. It's just really amazing to see all the ways that we're able to pull those opportunities together for campers. And, we're talking about campers who often lie on the moderate to severe end of the challenges they're facing. So we have campers who come to camp who use ventilators to breathe, who get to go in the pool, who get to go canoeing and ride a horse, who get to go down the slip and slide because we have respiratory therapists and physicians and nurses and camp counselors who are right there supporting them, making it safe, making it possible. I have the best job in the world because I get to witness these things on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that you provide a range of activities for children with special needs. It's not one. You mentioned canoeing, you mentioned archery, you mentioned horseback riding, and you mentioned arts class. So it's a great platform for children that want to experience multiple things in a short amount of time, or in a span of time that they are in their camp. They get to experience and learn and discover whether they have a passion in it or not. As well as you mentioned, you customize your programs for children. If they don't have a hand, you make sure they paint with their toes. And so that's a very unique and very incredible thing. On your website, it indicates that you have two programs. Could you please describe what those programs are and what's the impact of those programs on children?
Sure, and really, we have two seasons within which there are a lot of programs. So our summer camp program and summer season is our largest, where we welcome the most campers. We have week-long sessions for the campers that run Sunday through Friday. This year, things are looking a little different because of the worldwide pandemic that we're all continuing to deal with. But we are planning to have in-person camp this summer, and we're just doing it with smaller groups, and the groups are not mixing together as much as typically is the case. We look forward to the day that we get back to that more traditional way where we can welcome more campers to camp at a time. They can interact together as a whole camp family and not just with their tribe cohort. But we're going to have camp this summer, and that's a pretty amazing thing that many camps aren't able to quite figure out yet how to do. So we're very excited about that. In the school year, when we host our other programs, we have a variety of programs that are our standard programs. We have our Respite weekend camps where campers come out for just a Saturday, Sunday, one overnight. And it looks a whole lot like summer camp, but on a shorter basis. They do a lot of the same activities, weather dependent. Of course, if it's January and it's really cold, they're not going to be doing as many outdoor activities, but we have more indoor activities for them to engage in. We also do a parents' night out program one Friday night each month. And that gives the parents a chance to drop their kids off for a few hours while they go out on a date. They go home and take a nap. They do laundry, whatever it is that the parents need for that little break, that little respite. They get to do that. We have a teen and adult day adventure, or TADA program. We love our acronyms at camp. So TADA is a program where our campers, along with volunteer counselors, go out into the community and do something fun. They might go ride roller coasters at Six Flags Fiesta Texas or SeaWorld. They might go to Morgan's Wonderland, which is an incredible ultra accessible family fun park that we have in San Antonio. They may go to a Spurs basketball game or a play, or, it's a different activity every month. And it just gives them a chance to get together with their camper buddies, with their counselor buddies, and do something fun out in the community. The other program that we run during the school year is our family weekend retreat program, which is really a special opportunity for families to all come, all of the family members to come together during a weekend from a Friday through a Sunday. And the camper with special needs gets to share camp with the rest of their family who don't often see it except while dropping off or picking up the rest of the year. It's also a great opportunity for our first-time camper families to come and try camp as a family. They know that they're there to provide the support and care for their campers before they get brave enough to trust them to our care, because we know that is a real trust issue, that our families who provide so much care and so much love for the individuals and their families who have special needs. It takes a lot to trust that someone else is going to take care of them safely, adequately. And we love opportunities to share camp with them, to let them know that happens. We also typically do an open house in October every year. That's just a family fun day out at camp. We call it Camp Fest. So there's something going on pretty much all the time, year round at camp. And if it's okay to segue into this, one of the ways that we're able to make that happen is with our volunteer counselors. And I think it's really important to talk about that. Basically, every counselor who comes to one of our programs, every volunteer who comes to one of our programs means another camper gets to come, because we strive to have a 1-to-1 camper counselor ratio for all of our programs, which is huge. There are not many other special needs camps out there that have that level of care available. In summers where we're not dealing with COVID-19 precautions, we sometimes even have 2 counselors per camper, because we have certain campers who, due to caregiving needs, behavioral needs, they require a couple of folks to help them be successful at camp. And so in typical summers, we're able to do that. This summer, we're not able to promise more than one counselor, and we can't completely promise one counselor. And one of those reasons is we still need volunteers. So if anybody's watching this and is thinking, what am I going to do to spend a little bit of time this summer? There are still opportunities. We have sessions that run all the way through August. We provide all the training that's needed. You just have to be 15 years or older and able to pass a background check. And we do all the rest. We give you the training, the support, the mentorship to allow you to come and help our campers have an amazing time. And if summer isn't good for you, but you have some weekends available during the school year, we have all those other programs as well. So volunteers are really the heartbeat of what we do and how we're able to provide camp to our campers. And the benefits that our volunteers get are also huge. Again, we start accepting volunteers at age 15, and they are learning skills that will take them into the job market in the future. They're getting exposure to potential career opportunities that they may have never thought of until they came to camp. They are making friends and connections that will follow them through their life and careers. I started working at a camp like this when I was in college. It was a different camp, but the people that I worked with there way back in 1992, so a long time ago, I'm really old, they're still some of my best friends, and it's a pretty amazing thing, the way the camp family forms when people who are compassionate, who care, who really value what we're doing come together. It just attracts a really cool group of folks that you want to stay connected with. So we do see that carrying forward. We see many of those teenage volunteers go on into health careers and become healthcare volunteers when they get old enough. So that's the other group of volunteers that we always need: licensed physicians, nurses, respiratory therapists, pharmacists and pharmacy students. We have a lot of training opportunities for nursing students, for pharmacy students, other professionals who come out, because education, as I mentioned earlier, is also a big part of our mission. So it's really one of those situations where you think about the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Because all of these pieces really fit together to make just an organization that's full of opportunities for everybody who gets involved.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. It's a great thing that you offer programs not only during the summer but year round. So, and it's not just one type of program. There are diverse type of programs, and children and families who have individuals in their families with special needs can engage each month into those programs and be a part of the community, of a support system, and see that, there are other families like ours, and get to know and share the struggles that they face and support each other in those hard times or good times as well. And you specifically mentioned the benefits of being a camp volunteer. So everyone who is interested in health, being in a healthcare system or in a teaching system, or just wants to provide a helping hand and experience the life of a child with special needs and understand, put them in their shoes and start to appreciating what they have. It's a great platform for them to do so. So I can see the benefits, as you mentioned, both for children and families with special needs, as well as camp volunteers and camp counselors who come to your program. We discussed about one-to-one ratio of counselors and children and campers. Could you please describe what makes a difference between a regular camp and a camp for children with special needs? How they are different? We know about children with special needs. They have specific needs, but are the classrooms smaller? What's the atmosphere that it feels like? Could you please elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So, this year the classroom size is definitely going to be smaller because of precautions that we're taking with regards to COVID-19. But in general, our cabin sizes usually are up to about 15 campers per cabin. It's going to be more like 8 this summer. But the feel for camp, for those of us who experience it, it feels just like any other camp. And we think that's really important for our campers because our campers often have to take the sidelines in other types of programs. They aren't able to fully participate. They feel like they're an outsider, that they're not really right in the middle of everything. And here at camp, they are. They're just right there in the middle of everything, just like anyone else would be at any other camp for typically developing children. It is an opportunity for them to shine, to try things that are new and succeed, to try things that are new and fail, but to have the support to say, you know what, you did a great job trying. You want to try again, or do you want to try something different? Because we know that that's part of the human experience. We are not all great at everything, but the environment that we provide to support people through those kinds of, try and try again scenarios really makes all the difference in the world. And sadly, many of our campers don't get the support to do that in a lot of other settings. And sometimes that's because very well-meaning teachers, caregivers, other folks feel sorry for them and they want to do things for them to make life easier, and they just don't even stop to ask the camper what he or she wants. They just want to do things to try to make things easier. But I'm a clinical child psychologist by education and training, and I can tell you that for any of us, it doesn't matter what your challenge is. We all want to feel like we've accomplished things. We all want to feel like we have a level of independence, of self-confidence. And if we're never allowed to try things, we're never going to be able to build that kind of self-confidence. And that is a lot of the feel of what camp is all about, is providing that for our campers, providing that for our volunteer counselors, for our healthcare volunteers, providing that environment of support, of education, of trying new things, stepping outside your comfort zone, and enlarging your comfort zone through those efforts. It's just, an all-around great place to be in the middle of.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. Providing a platform where children with special needs don't feel that they are an outsider. They feel they are in the right place and they feel heard, not felt sorry for, but feel heard, and their wishes and their needs are being met while they are in camp is something unique and something great. Could you please share one story of a camper who went through your program and how it impacted their life, and one story of a volunteer and how their life changed after they went through the camp program?
Sure. And I'll just say, particularly as I talk about a camper, I'm not going to promise I won't cry a little bit, but that's real, and that's okay. So I'd like to tell everybody about Scarlett. Scarlett was in an automobile accident when she was just an infant. And in that accident, she became paralyzed from the C2, C3 vertebrae down. So she did not have use of her arms, her legs. She needed a ventilator to help her breathe. And she was brilliant and sweet and just such a ray of sunshine, and started coming to camp when she got old enough. And she was one of those campers that, even with all of those physical challenges she faced, she rode a horse, she went swimming, she went in the canoe. One thing that she hadn't done was slip and slide. I mentioned that earlier, and I was thinking about Scarlett when I said it. Her counselor a few summers ago said, Scarlett, what's something that you haven't done? You've been coming to camp for years. You've done just about everything. What's something that you've not done that you really want to do? And she said, I want to slip and slide. And people said, gosh, she uses a ventilator to help her breathe. How are we going to make that happen? And with respiratory therapists and nurses and her counselors and camp directors, all of us kind of put our heads together and figured out how to do it safely. And sometimes that involves using an ambu bag to help ventilate. So there's a person that's helping to do that instead of using a mechanical ventilator. But in this situation, the respiratory therapist said, Scarlett, can you hold your breath? How long can you hold your breath? And she said, I can hold it for a little bit. And they said, well, we've got to figure out how long you can hold it. So they got a stopwatch. They timed how long she could hold her breath. And then they timed how long it took to go from one end of the slip and slide to the other. And they found that she could hold her breath about twice as long as it took to go down the slip and slide. So they had a respiratory therapist at the beginning of the slip and slide who disconnected a ventilator, had her take a deep breath, disconnected the ventilator, and they slid her down the slipping slide, where another respiratory therapist was waiting with a ventilator to hook her back up to. And she got to do that. And I just can't even begin to describe how big the smile was on her face, because she was able to do this thing that she'd seen on TV. She'd seen other kids do for years and didn't think that she'd ever get to experience. But she did. And it's those kinds of joy that we try to make happen for all of our campers all the time. I could talk forever about Scarlett and about so many of our campers, but let me move on to your other question about some volunteers or a volunteer and the impact that camp had. I guess there's a couple of people who are in the same story. So one of the first people I met when I came to camp and started working here was a guy named Patrick. And Patrick was a chief cabin counselor, one of our summer cabin leadership positions, and had been in that position the summer before. So he kind of knew about camp. I had done camps. I had a PhD in clinical child psychology, but I hadn't been at this camp before. And he was one of the first people that I had a real conversation with as we got going with the first summer I was here for. And he told me about why he got involved in camp and about the impacts that it was making into his life. And we developed a friendship and a mentoring kind of relationship that, as he proceeded through college and was trying to decide what he wanted to do, his experiences at camp really helped shape that into him going into occupational therapy as a field and getting a doctorate in occupational therapy. While also along the way, while working and volunteering at camp, he met a girl who was also working and volunteering at camp named Cece, who, as it turns out, had also started on a path towards becoming an occupational therapist. So now, all these years later, that was 2008 is when I first met Patrick, and it was probably 2010 when Patrick and Cece kind of met at camp. And now here we are in 2021, and they are both occupational therapists, both working with people with special needs out there in the community, and coming back and volunteering at camp, and being donors to camp. And that's another important thing that I haven't said. But one of the other ways that camp is able to offer the programs that we do is through the generosity of donors who provide the funding resources to make camp possible. We don't ever want a financial constraint to make it a barrier for any of our campers to experience the programs that we offer. And so we provide a lot of scholarships, and we do that through the generosity of our donors. So there's always that opportunity of anyone listening to this says, gosh, I just can't get to Texas to volunteer hands-on, or I don't have the ability for whatever reason to be there and do hands-on volunteering, but I want to help somehow. A $10 donation goes a long way. It may not seem like much, but when you put a lot of those together, it goes a long way. We always have new things that we're wanting to do for our campers and their families, and every gift that we get helps us get further down that path.
The story of Scarlett is such a heartwarming and touching story, and the fact that she was able to experience sleeping that she wanted to do for so long, and it was the help of camp counselors, doctors, and nurses. She was able to experience that, and I can imagine that was one of the happiest moments of her life. And you mentioned the big smile on her face, and it's wonderful. And the fact that Patrick and Cece, while volunteering, they met and they continued their journey and career in helping children with special needs is wonderful. You mentioned that if someone would like to support your organization, they can donate, and if someone would like to be a volunteer, they can volunteer. How can they get in touch with your organization?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, the best way is to go to our website at campcamp.org. It's just campcamp.org. And there are links on there that get you to our volunteer opportunities, that get you to giving opportunities, that get you to applications for campers, for healthcare volunteers. Just, all of that information is on our website. There are links to it. One of the things that we have coming up that you'll also find links under the giving section for is at the end of August, we're going to have a fundraising gala that is going to be virtual this year, and there's no ticket price. Anybody is welcome to join and celebrate camp along with us. And we're really excited about I guess you would say, awareness campaign that we're launching with that we're calling See Me, Hear Me, Know Me. And what we know is that our campers all have a story to tell. Our camper families all have a story to tell. The volunteers do. I told you a couple of stories just now, but we know that everyone whose life is touched by camp has a story to tell, and we think they deserve to be heard. And so we're collecting those stories, and that's going to be part of our big celebration through the gala. And there will be other fundraising opportunities through that, some giveaways through a raffle, including a $5,000 Visa gift card. So pretty big prize there, a silent auction, different things. So there are ways that we'll be making some fundraising revenue through that event, but the event itself is free, online, open to anybody, and we'd love to have people join us. And again, your best way to find out more information about that is to go to our website.
Mm-hmm. For you listening, the link to the campcamp.org will be provided in the description. So if you would like to support the organization financially, you can do that through the donate page in their website, as well as if you would like to be a volunteer, you can learn about the opportunities that camp offers, and you can get involved. Thank you so much, Brendan. It was wonderful to get to know you and the great work that your organization is doing.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking with you today.
For you listening, if you enjoyed this conversation, please press like and share button, because this will show the YouTube and podcast algorithm that this conversation is important, that we need to provide safe environment for children with special needs so they can experience everything and they don't feel outsiders. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.